Hey there, it's Jane. Thanks so much for stopping by. I wanted to get this Halloween card out to you to show you because it was so fun to make. The background is a spiderweb stencil, and I use Thermoweb flock transfer sheets to get the great texture. It feels like fur. It is so very fun. It does tend to attract a lot of embossing powder, but that can be wiped off before I send it to my friends. So I started out with the Deco Foil flock transfer sheets and the Deco Foil transfer gel. I also have the Pretty Pink Posh Spiderweb stencil. I cut a piece of Simon Says Stamp cardstock black down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I also have my Tim Holtz splat box and my pixie spray, which you need to shake up really well. And I love the pixie spray because it allows those little webs to really adhere to my cardstock so I don't get any of the transfer gel underneath and ruin the design. Here's my cardstock, and I'm going to line up the center on that vertical line there to get this stencil vertically aligned on my cardstock. Stick it down really, really well. I have a offset spatula, and I'm going to put a really good layer on this. I wanted to make sure that the flock stuck everywhere, and you can just pick up the excess with your spatula when you're done. One thing that's very important to do is as soon as you lift off your stencil and set your cardstock aside, you need to wash your spatula and your stencil and your work surface. Otherwise, it'll stick terribly. You're going to lift that stencil straight up and it will dry completely clear. I keep a bottle of water by my table so I can clean up my media mat. That's what it looks like clear. That is a piece of the flock transfer sheet. So I'm turning the transfer gel side down to face the flock. And I have preheated my mini Mink machine, which I absolutely love. Putting in a piece of typing paper, and I'm going to put this through this laminating machine 2 times. I've sped it up a little bit. You don't need to watch it go through the laminating machine. I put it in, and when it came out, I turned it around, but you always have to make sure that the flock side is down. And then you're going to let it cool before you peel it off. And you can see me shaking it, trying to get it to cool off a little quicker for you. It's not quite ready. And here you go. This is what it looks like. This is my first time using it, and I can't wait to use it for the insides of flowers or leaf stems or petals. And that's what it looks like. I cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4 because there was a little bit of the typing paper stuck to the sides. I did not have any current Halloween stamps, but I did my Love This Mama Elephant Plushoween. I bought that last year. I loaded those stamps into my mini MISTI using my Gina K black amalgam ink. And you can see there that I did not like that. It was a big glob and it needed restamped. So I cleaned off my stamp and put it back in. And I'd rather have it not stamped like this than the globby stamp. And I left that in to show you that it's just paper and it's not a big deal to start all over again. Now, I am not a really good Copic colorer, so you probably can't even see those. But I lay down my lightest color, my medium color, and then I come in with my darker color. Then I go back to my medium, and then I fill in with my light. I am not going to show you all of my Copic coloring here because, as I said, I'm not a really good Copic colorer. Since he was a little teddy bear, I went with the browns to give him the look of a teddy bear. And again, as you can see, I'm putting down my lighter color first, and then I'm going to go in with my medium. I don't know anything about light shading or anything like that. If you want to know how to use Copic markers, you need to look up Sandy Almach. She is absolutely a watercolor Copic marker genius. So I'm coloring this cute little fox. I'm trying to put a little shading in his hat, as you can see. And I put a little colorless blender in there just to shade that out, finishing up with the lighter Copic. And then I will finish coloring this off camera. This is a black glaze gel pen that I put on the eyes. And I should have cut them out first, so I'm setting this aside to dry. And while it dries, I'm going to work on my sentiment. This is a 1 1/4 inch strip of 40-pound vellum from Ellen Hudson. I'm using the same Too Cute to Spook. I'm sorry, I don't mean the same. I'm using the Too Cute to Spook. And I'm using VersaFine black ONYX ink because it stays wet. And then I can emboss this with clear powder. I don't have to mess with a bunch of different color powders. Black tends to get everywhere. Sometimes you need to get your head right over what you're doing to make sure it's even. So I apologize for my gray roots there. And I am going to be using Hero Arts Ultra Fine Clear Embossing Powder in my Cisterna containers. And I got the little spoon from the ice cream store. Normally I put an embossing bag on top of that first before I emboss, but I forgot to do that. I just wanted to show you that you need to do that first. I'm using my Wagner heat tool, and I got really hot before I put it to the vellum so that the vellum would not curl. I'm looking at it, eyeballing it, lining it up with that horizontal spider web line, trying to figure out where I want it to go. I will try to clean up all that powder off the work surface because it does stick to this flock really, really quickly, but you can get it off with like a white baby wipe or something. Putting a little bit of tape runner behind there, lining it up in the center, and all I'm doing is folding it over to line it up. I eyeball things. A lot of times I lay them on my media mat or I use my T-roller, but this particular time I just used my eyeball because I had that horizontal spiderweb line for me to use to look at. I'm going to then cut out my pieces with the coordinating dies, and I just lay them all out there, use some purple tape. Again, my head's going to get in the top of this because I got to get right on top of it. But I cut them all out, and I will have 3 little pieces set aside. I use my Gemini Junior, which I absolutely adore. And it cuts things out so incredibly awesome. And I don't even have to ever put things through twice. It just cuts them out for me, which is a savings for me. Plus, it's automatic, so I can do other things while it's cutting. I'm using my 3M tape, and I'm putting it behind all the critters. And then I also have a little piece of silver cord that was left over from something that I'm putting behind my little spider. And I'm going to lay that all out. But first off, I have some black foam with adhesive on one side. And again, I'm going to link all the products below for you. And I love the black adhesive when I'm using a black cardstock. And I'm going to lay out all my products and see my images to see how I want them to lay out and where I want that little spider web to go. That little spider coming down there, I just thought he was so darn cute and not scary at all. I love Halloween. I hate scary. My downfall of Halloween, of course, is all the candy. So I never buy candy that I like. I always buy my least favorite candy, and then I'm not tempted to eat it. But then my husband wants to know why I bought terrible candy. So I'm peeling off the back of all the images. I'm laying them down, trying to figure out where I want them to be. I used the vellum strip because I wanted the animals to be grounded on something, but I didn't want to block all of that amazing flocking that I had done on that spider web. And I really wish you could see this in person. It is just so cool looking, and it just feels so very, very neat. So I'm using a Gina K Tangerine Twist cardstock here for my card base with my Lawn Fawn glue tube, and I put a little too much glue on there, but I had to squeeze it with both hands because it's almost empty. I need to order a bunch more. I usually buy them about a dozen because I use so many. And I lay that on there, and we have the cutest, in my humble opinion, little card. I have a black envelope from Simon Says Stamp. I'm using that same Too Cute to Spook stamp, and I cleaned it off. This time I remembered my embossing bag with my Brutus Monroe embossing ink. And I'm going to stamp that on the envelope. I'm also going to be using the Brutus and Monroe Alabaster embossing powder. They are my absolute favorite products. Putting everything in a coffee filter so I can pour it all back down inside. My heat tool is hot because you don't want to take a cold to this because you don't want to melt the glue on the back of the envelope. And there you go. There is my card, and here is the envelope. Thanks so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great Halloween.